Hey guys, and welcome back to Video Game Talk, the show that you remember on this channel but forgot that it was on a new channel until we made the update and reminded you to go check out the old ones because I saw some people go back and watch the old ones on the Video Game Network channel, but now we're back on this channel.
Yeah, we got some comments actually that I was responding to. It was kind of like, oh, that's nice.
Right. So almost none of that matters, but the point is we're back on the Rich Alvers channel.
It's good.
We're no longer a stream. Instead, we're going to be a half-hour uploaded program, but we will have that whole comments thing that we were talking about a little bit, which means at the end of our final VGN episode of this show, we asked a question that we will show the answers to those questions that people said at the end of this video, and then we will ask you a new question at the end of this video, and then we will pick our top 10 favorite answers from you guys to say at the end of next week's episode. And guys, that's just going to keep on rolling until we go. Okay, here we go. We got some news. As you saw the title of this video, we're like trekking through all, the, GameSpots and IGNs. And then we're noticing, of course, everyone's
we should mention, legitimate video game news and the idea of, like, big releases is going to get increasingly more sparse as we approach E3.
Right, and then E3 will be talking forever.
We'll have enough to talk about till the end of the year, when E3 comes out. But this is generally how it works in the industry, and the idea that, like, as E3 approaches, a lot of people, play their cards a lot closer to their chest because, like any industry, they want to get their money's worth out of E3, and they want to have some meaningful things to discuss and reveal and talk about.
Right. So there's not a whole lot of release news right now, but people are going crazy over, of course, Red Dead 2. They just released another trailer, and then IGN got their hands on the first 45 minutes of the game, and of course, it looks amazing and plays amazing, and the AI is like immaculate and whatever, Everybody feels like it's like Westworld.
A lot of potential here. Still a lot behind the curtain.
But that's like one game, and it's just like one game. We're talking about like at the end of the year with Red Dead and then Smash Bros. And everything. It's like when you think about what is coming out these days, the massive amount of video games that are being released every day is on Steam, and of course, ergo via PC. Right. So. So what we're, this has kind of been a little bit thing that's been creeping in the last few years, the last couple of years especially, where it seems like more and more kids are just getting better gaming computers and are getting Steam and are just playing on their PC. Which is funny because it's always been kind of a joke that there's been a PC master race, because if you had a good gaming PC and you had a PC version of a game that was also on consoles, 9.5 times out of 10, the superior version was the PC version, because like for example on Bethesda games you could get into the console, and like switcheroo some stuff, get around some of those. And
some of that is just our playstyle. Some of that is just, this is how we play games, and I personally am very used to that level of kind of customization and the workarounds that have that, and you are seeing that in some console games now. Yeah, and you are seeing stuff like
but there's so much more. I mean, like even from my point of view, as gaming goes, there's so much more you can do with a gaming mouse and a keyboard that you can do with just a simple controller.
Right.
Yada yada yada. But it just seems like the way that the trend is going, that more and more kids are jumping on PC games, especially with huge PC titles like PUBG and Fortnite. And kids are just getting. And of course, they released PUBG on Xbox, but is anybody really playing Xbox?
Fortnite is incredibly popular in the console audience. Yeah.
So, but it just I can't help but feel. I mean, I have no actual stats to back me up. It's just a feeling that I have. Yeah, you might have some stats.
I might have stats to crush your thoughts, though.
That's
so let's
true,
just go,
too.
You just go ahead and talk.
But, okay, whether or not there are stats right now to back up my BS, I just feel like eventually there's going to be, just PC, because even Sony and Microsoft are struggling to think of like what they can do with like the PS5 and the next Xbox to compete with everything you can do on PC now.
It is right out the gate really hard to think about what the next consoles are going to look like.
Yeah, well,
or how more specifically, like what is going to make them distinct.
Right. The idea with a home console has always been like the amount of ease it is, because you spend a few $100 on a PlayStation, and you have a gaming ready system you just buy games for, versus spending a grand or two on a nice PC. But it just seems like with everybody doing it's kind of become. But when I was a kid, nobody used a computer to do their homework. Now everybody has a computer to do their homework.
You have to have a computer to do your homework.
Yeah, like especially
it's not just like a cool little advantage. It's like, no, you need a computer to do most homework at a high school level or above.
Yeah, going to like the computer lab at school was like a special treat once a week, where we'd play Oregon Trail,
or
on like an old
would
Mac,
take a typing class. Yeah. like, you know, the requisite stuff.
That might not have been your...
Should have paid more attention than that class.
You know, that might not have been your elementary school experience, but remember, I went to elementary school in the early 90s, and Oregon Trail on an old Mac was what we had. And yeah, nobody was...
It was religious. And you don't understand us! Except for, you know, that portion of our demographic that is literally our age and would absolutely understand us.
Right. But yeah, so, you know,
that's you.
Everyone has at least one computer now, and, you know, more and more kids are just, you know, saving up their money, their allowance or whatever, or begging their parents for Christmas for these major gaming PCs. And so I think, you know, and as the price of computers will eventually go down, it's just... people will get a computer. What's the point of having a PS4 if you've got a PC that will play that same game better, you know?
Right.
So it's amazing to see something like, you know, God of War or Red Dead 2, which are console exclusive titles. It's like I don't even. I use my PS4 the last year. I think I've used my PS4 for Netflix and Hulu. Like, I can't remember. I think Final Fantasy 15.
Holly really likes Until Dawn.
Oh, yeah.
That it's not my PlayStation 4 that's sitting in my... It's Fiery Pup 13's, a.k.a. Lexi. She left her PlayStation here for stuff. Like, I forget what they were doing, but it has become the Until Dawn machine.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
I mean, and D-Rock also has an Xbox One that sits there until he uses it for YouTube, Hulu, and Netflix. So, I mean, is it just us and we're old and we just prefer PCs? Or do you think that PCs
I feel like I may have roped you guys into this a little bit. I'll back up a little bit and say that, because I have to introduce my dinner here. I felt like I had a bit of an unfair advantage in this conversation with you, so I decided to give myself a handicap in the form of some of those online challenge ramen noodles. So... you're just going to keep talking, and I'm going to have a bite of this.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, you know, it's just consoles are they really, that's the real thing here is, are consoles necessary when we have major PC gaming machines that can do it so much better? I mean, look at The Witcher 3 came out, what, 3-4 years ago? And that still looks just as good or better than anything.
It's objectively one of the best. It's objectively one of the best RPGs ever made. Yeah. And it was cross-platform, and it saw a ton of play on both consoles and PC.
Right, but I mean, if you have the right PC,
this is good
best on PC.
This noodle thing is good.
So, Garrett, do you have any idea of statistics or anything at all that would back up the idea that more people are jumping on PC and getting off of consoles?
Yeah, tons of information, but there's also a lot coming up short on that. Because we always talk, for starters, we always talk about console exclusives. We always talk about, like, oh yeah, these big releases are sort of a thing and whatnot. And there's a big argument, obviously, for that idea of console exclusives. But no one really talks about PC exclusives all that much. Maybe because there's thousands. Like
every independent game on Steam.
Almost every single, you know, like most indie games that were produced in a legitimately indie sense see PC and PC only. Maybe, you know, they like cross-platform very like minorly in like an Xbox Play Store or a Switch Play Store or something like this, something kind of like a download only situation.
Yeah, like Frostpunk is out now. I haven't played it yet, but it looks amazing.
Yeah. If you're, by the way, check out Frostpunk. Indie game, you know, although Frostpunk, I would say, represents a little bit more of a higher tier indie product. I'm thinking about, like, when I think of indie game, like, the game that has become my poster child for indie is Spelunky, which I don't even know if you've heard of.
No, I haven't.
Okay, yeah.
Sounds funny, though.
It was dope.
Spelunky.
Yeah. Spelunky, it's about cave exploring.
Oh, okay. Like, so, like spelunking.
Yeah, but it's called Spelunky.
Yeah.
So that one to me was like
Mr. Wayne.
Right. And it's just this, I think it was made in Game Maker 9. Like we're talking super backyard effort. And it was PC Gamer's Game of the Year like 5 years ago. Wow. It scored a 96%, putting it up there with, like, you know, Half-Life.
You don't say.
Yeah, which if you ask me, it's not a 96%. That was PC Gamer coming out in force in support of the indie movement and a bit of a political move. Not necessarily them rallying behind Spelunky as an immaculate game. That's just my opinion. Maybe they really do think Spelunky's a 96% game. But it introduces that idea that PC exclusives are so numerous that, like, we don't even talk about them.
You know, it all kind of comes back full circle to the idea of, you know, is E3 even necessary anymore? Because for years, E3 has been, you know, not getting the notoriety that it used to, because the internet is a thing now, of course, and, you know, games are being released or being teased with trailers and getting release dates online all the time. And we can kind of feel E3's presence a little bit when, like, for example, we're not getting enough console release dates and etc., and they're kind of holding that back for E3. But can they compete when Steam is always releasing new trailers and new release dates all the time? You know,
I think I would answer your question twofold. One, E3 is not necessary anymore. It hasn't been for probably 2 or 3 years. But is E3 useful? And does E3 still serve a purpose? To which
and
I would
is
say,
it still fun?
To which I would say yes, because it's a giant presentation or whatnot, and it really harkens back to what I think is the big console advantage. The reason consoles are still afloat and present in a big way, outside of the fact that they really appeal to the casual gamer who's intimidated by the build and the process and the expense associated with PC, that to me is the #1 reason consoles succeed. #2 is because there is tremendous commercial support for consoles. All of these, like, thousands and thousands of PC, you know, exclusive release titles, do you see? Do they get commercial? Do they get trailers during the Super Bowl?
No.
Do they get anything on TV? Do they ever see presence outside of maybe a Steam page? It's like, likes and subscribe. No. Very rarely. You know, meanwhile, God of War, PlayStation 4 exclusive, and largely looks to be so far the best reviewed game of the year, has seen an immeasurable amount of commercial support, a tremendous budget, and all this sort of stuff, and that's a lot more the jive of what you traditionally get out of a console exclusive. Meanwhile, PC exclusives run a lot more of a gamut. There's some indie games out there that are hot garbage, and there's some, you know, when the Greenlight movement first appeared on Steam, spicy. When the Greenlight movement first appeared on Steam, a bunch of those titles were outright frauds. Like, they took a bunch of money promising the early access, or the beginning of what we now know as early access, development cycles, and a lot of those teams, or a handful of those teams, just overtly took the money and run. Some of the teams, that was the vast minority, I might add, and not something that should really mar your opinion of the indie movement, but something that should mar your opinion of the indie movement is a lot of these groups were kids, like, you know, like younger than us, you know, that were like getting together with friends and like making a game, and it got greenlit because they had a good concept, but then guess what? They're 24-year-olds.
Yeah.
And, like, they get distracted, and, like, one of them gets a girlfriend or moves out of state or something like this, and the project falls apart, and people have been paying money for this development cycle, and it collapses, and it's this big nightmare.
You heard it here first, guys. Don't get a girlfriend.
Yeah, right? Like,
if you're working on a big game.
Yeah, right. Or something just happens to fracture this group. We saw it with, I mean, Starforge is the game that I think of when I think about it, because it was, like, the first greenlit game where I'm like, this is going to be really neat. It was like this emergent sci-fi, like 3D, kind of like hexel, voxel, Minecraft
And
thing.
then someone got a girlfriend?
No, like, but basically the team was 3 dudes, and it fractured. They stopped talking to each other. They, you know, 2010 Rich Alvarez channeled the whole thing. And I mean, it went.
All I'm saying is that the Beatles were the biggest band in the world until Yoko Ono showed up at every recording session, annoyingly. Right. But hey, this is not Beatles talk.
It's not, but it introduces the idea that teams of young people who are kind of driving on passion projects alone and whatnot, and all of a sudden they had a platform to sell their project at literally any price. It went super bad initially, and this is kind of this existence has kind of tarnished the existence of what is mostly the PC exclusive, which is dominated by the indie presence. It has taken many years for indie to legitimize itself in many ways.
Right.
So that's what PC contending with. Meanwhile, indie's here. Indie is here. Indie is now. Indie is present. Indie is big. Indie really dominates a lot of the sales in a big way. And indie is, for the most part, pretty much exclusive to PC.
And it's been, you know, for years now, E3 has had, like, an ever-growing indie presence where, you know, you can go to, like, the little indie arcade section and play a lot of these indie games. But it's like, you know, beta testing and, you know, early access is becoming a real thing all the time with all these games. It's like that even becomes less necessary now, even though they're trying desperately to compete with the internet. E3 2018 has a lot to answer for this year because the last few years have been kind of and the last year, E3 2017 was personally disappointing for me because it was the first year they opened it up to the public. Sorry, I hate the public. No, it's like, because I've always gone in as press.
Somebody who's following you for years knows that.
I've always gone
I don't think they knew what they were getting themselves into. Also, like this, a bunch of developers show up with intent. developers show up to get their money's worth out of like. So here's my big issue with E3, and I'll bring it full circle to your conversation. E3 ruins development schedules.
Yeah.
It ruins them.
It's like, oh, they spent a couple months scattering to get a presentation ready for E3 instead of working on their game.
Exactly, yeah. Like, you could be sitting down and making a game, but now if you're anybody, especially if you're someone like Red Dead or Cyberpunk or someone like this, like, it used to be, it's less so now, but it used to be the idea of, like, if you didn't show up at E3, good luck selling your game. You know, good luck anybody following your stuff, because all eyes were on E3. So you needed to stop development, stop working on things that mattered, and all of a sudden get all of your team, or a huge chunk of your team, working on E3 demo. And, that was a huge, tremendous issue, and it would delay the release of games for months. It had to be worked into development schedules, especially for games that took several years to make. Every year, you had to take time off to work into the E3 development, so you had something to show for it. And that's effed up. And then all of a sudden, it opens up to the public. Because prior to that, it had been like, okay, well, at the very least, we can take our demo, we can show it to some developers who actually know what the hell to look for.
Right.
You know, it's industry professionals. They're going to look past, you know, the occasional little quirk. They're going to look past, you know, a voice acting thing. These are educated minds as far as the development, you know, group is concerned. They can come in, look at a game with meaningful criticism, and release, you know, a review or an early review that's actually representative of the access. You bring in the public, you get any Joe Schmo's opinion on a game, including the people who are looking for reasons to hate your game.
Right.
And it convolutes the whole entire, you know, process of review, and it really, I think, I think it diluted the reason why developers should show up to E3 at all.
I think that it was E3, like, they are like 10 years late to the whole, like, idea of anybody can have a camera, be a YouTuber, and become a critic, basically. But they did it 10 years late. And all that caused was massive, massive crowding in the halls. Like, I'm used to Hall H being Hall H. It's not Comic-Con. It's I can't remember whatever the main hall is at E3. I'm used to it being like you take a step and you're in somebody's, you know, ass, you know, like.
Right.
But here it was like you couldn't move. Everybody was kind of moving like a centipede. Right. It was. And
how many of those people in that hall brought a meaningful conversation to that convention?
No one. No. It was like
maybe 1 in 100.
It's always been part of the charm and fun of E3 has been able to like casually approach developers and PR people for the games.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I've had meaningful conversations with, you know, Nintendo, of course, and of course Bethesda,
right,
and BioWare, and whoever else was at E3 at any given year. It's like it was really hard to do that because now that all the developers are kind of like backstage now.
Yeah, they have to hide because they're just gonna get swamped by people who want selfies or want to talk about how a bush clips through, you know, the one building in Redcliffe or something,
right.
You know?
So you have to hope that you're going to run into somebody's secretary and then set up a meeting and, you know, prove that, you know, it's like, oh, look, I'm press. I'm not one of these a-holes. So I'm sorry if I'm insulting anybody who just goes to E3 for fun.
Right.
But, you know, that's why E3 is not a, like, Friday to Sunday convention. E3 has always been a Monday through Friday. It's a
business convention. Yeah, it happens in the middle of the week.
It's supposed to be for the business side of things, and I've always enjoyed it. But yeah,
do you think they just got hungry eyes when they saw the kind of money they could make to just blow open the gates? Do you think that's what it was, or do you think that they legitimately thought that the public would bring an energy to it that they were losing with developers?
Maybe either way, maybe both.
Maybe both.
I'm not sure if they're going to do it again this year. I'm sure somebody else has been on. I don't know if the E3 website is updated yet. Somebody will probably know this. I don't know if it's open to the public again. I would have hoped they would have learned the biggest lesson of fire hazard, though, and just not, you know, or at least made it even more limited. Yeah, because I might not even go this year. So we'll see.
I can't go.
All right,
and I got invited too. That bums me out.
So the beauty of doing this not as a stream means we can make this as short or as long as we want to.
Right.
And that's pretty much all the news
I don't know. Did we just rant about E3 and not answer the question?
Doesn't matter. Anyways. So last week we asked you guys, should
I don't feel bad about that because you guys do need to be prepared for EA and understand what it is. And I want you to think critically about the reviews that come out. That's your challenge. Console wars be damned.
Yeah. So anyways, last week we asked you, should EA keep the Star Wars license? Should Disney give that license to someone else, or should EA share it with other? Like, should it be shared amongst developers and publishers? Marty Man, you guys all remember Marty Man 461. He says, "I think Epic Games
You have to say something like that.
or the people who made PUBG should have the license, because battle royale games are gonna take gaming to the next level with blasters, lightsabers, stormtrooper armor, and then we got walkers and speeders. We cannot have actual flying vehicles, otherwise it would break the game." Garrett, what do you think about the good old peoples at PUBG or Epic Games having the license of Star Wars?
I want to say this, and I want to preface two things. First of all, I disagree a lot, but I want to give Marty Man a lot of credit for actually giving me an answer that I haven't heard before.
Yeah.
So a lot of credit for you there, as far as like that's no one's pulled that out yet. No one has said PlayerUnknown should take on the Star Wars license.
I don't know. I really don't think they can handle it.
No, they couldn't, because they couldn't even handle PUBG. I think it would. I honestly think it would be a disaster. And I like PlayerUnknown. I appreciate his vision. I give a tremendous amount of credit to his team. I think I compare them very similarly to the people who took on No Man's Sky. In the idea that they kind of had fame and like big market legitimacy thrust upon them in a way that I don't know that they were really equipped to handle. Plus, they had a player base that grew exponentially, and then they had to retreat to the back end to fix a whole bunch of problems that I don't think they were equipped to handle. And then, in amongst this development cycle, Battle Royale blew up, and now the genre is super polluted and like all over the place,
Right.
and Fortnite dominates.
So who's the developer of Fortnite?
Oh man, why am I forgetting it? Anyway, I would say if you're looking for, they could take it on. Is it 2K? Is it 2K that's developing that
I
one?
think so. Yeah, I don't know why I'm blanking too, but yeah, whoever develops Fortnite, I think they can handle it.
I would say that's a better
I wouldn't
suggestion.
want either of these guys to have.
I
the
actually don't want
license,
either,
though. But I would like if EA kept the license, or if any other publisher got the license, they should hire. Maybe they should hire the Fortnite guys to develop a Star Wars game in that style. But I wouldn't want them to have the license. You guys understand the difference between owning the license and then licensing out a game to be developed.
Right.
It's kind of whatever. Anyways.
Meanwhile, to answer your question in kind of an indirect way, I'm okay with a Star Wars Battle Royale game. I think that might be kind of fun. But again, this comes back. That can't be an exclusive license if it's the case. And again, I'm so against the exclusivity of the Star Wars license, but in the world where anybody was making a game, if a Battle Royale game came out, yeah, would I be good with it? Yeah, check it out.
Once again, Disney needs to have just like a small 10-man committee that kind of licenses out Star Wars
On a case-by-case basis,
You can call it LucasArts if you want to, or not, or just call it the Star Wars publishing team. Don't care.
Call it Lucas Farts.
But I don't think EA should have the exclusivity of it. Anyways, we're going to go to Hail Hydra's question, and he was really the only other person that actually answered our question.
Always an asker of good questions, Hail Hydra.
So I hope going forward, now that these are on Chalvers, you guys will actually ask more questions. But Hail Hydra, he asked an interesting question, although I'm not 100% sure if he understood the question either, but I'll say it anyway. He says, "Good question. I think EA definitely should share the rights of Battlefront.
Good, we agree.
But which developer do I think would make a good developer for a Star Wars Battlefront game?" And see, this is why I think you might have misunderstood, because we weren't just talking about Battlefront, we're talking about Star Wars in general.
Right.
I think that if EA loses Star Wars, I don't want to see Battlefront for a long time. But I'll keep saying.
I'm good on Battlefront.
Anyways, who do you think would make a good developer for a Star Wars Battlefront game? That's a good question. I was thinking Insomniac Games, who made games like Spyro the Dragon, Ratchet and Clank, Sunset Overdrive, and they are also developing the upcoming Spider-Man game. Maybe they could make something fun out of developing a Star Wars game, because Insomniac Games knows how to make a very fun and enjoyable game. It ought to be an interesting direction for them to go in.
See, I think he understood the question. He answered it. Insomniac Games. To which I would say, I'm good with that.
Yeah, but
I like
not
that.
for Battlefront, though. I would like
not for Battlefront.
That's the thing. I think that Insomniac Games would make an excellent Star Wars adventure game, but not Battlefront. But I agree, Insomniac gives another inspired answer, because I've just been like, Bethesda!
I know, you can tell where we sit on the matter. We think Bethesda should get the license. There you go, we said it.
Bethesda! It was like we have a sign.
If we went to E3 this year, I would, make myself one of those double signs and whatnot. It's like, if you work for Disney, give Bethesda the Star Wars license.
Oh, just we all wear those shirts and we're just walking by the EA booth.
Yeah, right? Just give Bethesda the license.
Oh my god, we get kicked out.
Oh my god, so
right away.
Yeah, that's bad for business.
Half of the publishing hall is EA.
Yeah, they would. Oh man, they'd be so
pretty much
bad.
own E3 at this point.
Yeah, you should just call it EA3 at this point.
Yeah.
But anyway, to double back to Hail Hydra, Insomniac Games would make, I think, a great Star Wars game.
Oh, yeah.
You know, up there with Naughty Dog. You know, I suggested just because of the success of the Uncharted series, I'd really love to see, you know, that same team take on Han Solo as a character. I think it'd be crazy dope. And yeah, I'm all for this. I think it's an excellent answer.
Sweet.
Yeah, so, good job,
Well,
buddy.
thanks, guys, for answering last week's question. And now I'm
Yeah.
going to ask you a new
We
question.
will answer up to 10 of these.
Up to 10,
Up
yeah,
to
so
10.
please.
So, load it up! Let's go!
Alright, so this week's question that we you know, for next week's episode,
And we think
is,
we think you guys will be pretty well equipped to answer this
yeah,
question.
this is a fun one. Who do you think should be in the next Smash Bros. Game and why? And this is really important because, you know, don't say, oh, I think Wario should be in it again. Don't pick somebody who's already been in a Smash Bros. Game. What new character should be in the next Smash Bros?
And honestly,
and why?
For me, it's like the more obscure the better. It has
Yeah.
to be plausible. You can't come in with like, I want like
Bill Gates for Smash!
yeah, Bill or like what's a license that never in 1,000 years would get like over to Smash?
I don't know, Gordon Freeman.
Yeah,
from
Gordon Freeman. Like
Half-Life.
I want Gordon Freeman. Like, but even then,
I
there's
don't know, I can kind of see that.
I actually yeah okay. You know what?
But
I want it to be the tiniest smidgen possible, but still like a total like.
but
I come up with something I haven't even
don't
guessed.
just say Gordon Freeman or like Banjo-Kazooie. Tell me why. I think Banjo-Kazooie should be in Smash because they started out on Nintendo, blah, blah, blah. You know, give me an actual reason.
I
Anyways,
think
yeah,
Gordon
so-
Freeman because he has a sequence of crowbar-based attacks.
Because then he might actually make it into a third
Right.
game.
Also, any person. Oh my god.
Anyways, you guys get it. Tell us who do you want to
Gravity
see
gun
in the next Smash Bros. And why. Leave that answer in the comments section below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and you'll see these beautiful faces every Thursday night. I was gonna say Star Wars. Wow. Video game talk.
You'll see half of these beautiful
You'll
faces
see me
for
on
this
Star
one.
Wars,
and then
half hour or whatever. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. We love you all. Do you have anything else to say, Garrett?
No.
Okay, bye.